Good evening, sirs. Good evening, ma. It's time for us to uplift agriculture, not just as agriculture, but to see it as agribusiness. With that, I warmly welcome each and every one of us to this 100-day tomato challenge masterclass. I thank you all for the wonderful cooperation we've had. And I believe we have been learning. I believe we have been unlearning. And I believe we have been relearning. As a form of reminder for those who are just joining us, on our dashboard are recordings of previous classes. Please, you can catch up. And should you have any questions, feel free to raise them up and we can all go through together and learn one from another. Today, we will go straight to where we stopped. We are on field management of tomato cultivation, management practices for improved tomato production. And as I said when we were starting this 2 weeks ago, I said it's going to be a sort of review because when we talk about management practices, it takes us back to the beginning from our site selection to our cultivar selection to nursery practices to pest and disease management, back to cultural practices, and then harvesting and post-harvest practices, and then storage. So tonight I want to round up on cultural practices. And again, the subset of it will take us back to some of the things we have learned earlier on. And we will be asking us some questions to see how far along. But I must say this. I have been involved in trainings, I've been involved in workshops, and I must commend this community. This community makes it very worthwhile to do this, and I'm excited to be a part of this community. I appreciate the privilege, and we move. So we spoke about weeding. We talked about irrigation, and I said yesterday that if you're doing tomato production, there are varieties of irrigation options, but one that you should never do for tomato is the sprinkler, overhead sprinkler. If whether it's in a screen house or an open field, do not use an overhead sprinkler for tomato cultivation. And the reason is simply it aids dispersal of disease and disease mechanisms. So you want to ensure you either go for, I think the drip irrigation is best for your tomato. Let it just go there and let it do the wonders it needs to do. Now, I'd like to go back to pest control. That's another cultivation technique. Well, I mean, a cultural practice. I said we'll talk about weeding, we talked about irrigation, disease control, and then we'll talk about pruning, we'll talk about staking, and then we'll leave it at that. But before I talk about weeding, I want to go to disease control again. Now, I mentioned some diseases when we were talking about diseases in tomato. And I said there are insects and there are diseases, pests and diseases. We must not take what we should use for pest for disease and then disease for pest. I'll give you an example. When tuta invaded tomato fields in Nigeria, tuta is an insect and it was misinterpreted to be a disease. And then some people rose up and decided they could approach the government and get some stuff from the government because they can find a way to tackle this disease. But unfortunately, it was a wild goose chase because it's an insect. So you must first understand whatever it is you're dealing with. So for disease management during cultural practice, we mentioned all sorts of wonderful names when we were talking about the disease. We mentioned Fusarium wilt. We mentioned bacterial wilt. I didn't mention it then, but you have verticillium wilt, rhizoctonia. I mentioned early blight, leaf spot, bacterial canker. And I believe if you scroll through the chat, I believe some of the pictures are still there. So the disease control program is very, very important at each stage of growth. Now, I didn't mention this then, but I want to mention it now. And that's why I said it's going to be like a review, but there are some things that when we were treating it then, it didn't enter in the syllabus. But now, under the management practices, it comes in. Now, you have root related diseases, you have stem and foliage diseases, and you have fruit diseases. If you recall a picture that was sent, it was one of an insect borer. That's a pest infestation. That's not a disease. For that, you spray your biopesticide. But for fruit diseases, you have bacterial spots, you have bacterial speck, you have anthracnose. All these are diseases that happen during the fruit stages. Root-related diseases, examples are the bacterial wilt, the Fusarium wilt, the rhizoctonia. And that's why I mentioned that some people can have the spores of these fungal pathogens in the soil, and it can stay there for years. And I remember sharing the unfortunate story of a farmer. We were on his field in Igbora, who had to clear over 20 acres of land because the land was infested with these pathogens, but they didn't know. And he left it to fallow for 3 years. And he planted maize on it after, and then he believed, well, he could now plant tomato. But the root problem was not dealt with. So Fusarium wilt, bacterial wilt, verticillium wilt, all these are root-related diseases. And then you have stem and foliage diseases, you have the early blight, you have the leaf spots, you have the bacterial canker, you have the late blight. Pictures of these also, I believe, should still be available on the chat that were sent during the process. And when you listen, let me see if anyone remembers. What treatment did we say we can use that kickstarts the process of seed treatment? Who remembers what we said we can use for seed treatment if we need to? Anybody? Seed treatment?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I think I, I think it's we can use neem seed. Neem seed.
Uh, How are we going to use neem seed?
Yes, we will crush the seed. We'll crush it into powder or into paste. We can now use it
Okay,
to mix it with the seed and we'll dry it and for plants.
that's good. Thank you very much. Yes, sir, Francis, you have something
Yes,
to say?
I wanted to talk about the use of coconut water to treat
Yes.
the
Good.
seed, soak it in
Okay.
it for a few uh, short period. Then
Yes.
there are certain seed you also like ewedu. I remember you mentioned ewedu specifically. that we
Yes,
should pack it in cloth, tie it, boil water, and then
yes,
dip it in that water for a few seconds, take it out and spread it, air dry it until when it
exactly.
becomes root, then we can now plant.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. So, let me drum it again. It's only for a wedu you need to boil water and put the seeds in that hot boiling water, and then you dip it in just for 8 to 10 seconds, bring it out, and you air dry. For tomato, you don't have to. On I think it was on Tuesday. It was on Wednesday. It was on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we got a call from a farmer who wanted to trade the seed, and thankfully, someone was there. The person had boiled water, and I don't know where the person had that. Perhaps the person had something about Ewedu, and I got the call and I was like, um, I'm boiling water now. How long do you say we'll put the tomato inside the hot water? I said, you have already cooked your tomato. So please, you don't need that. You can use the neem seed, crush it, apply it on the seed. You can use the coconut water, soak it in there for some minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, bring them out, allow it to dry up, plant your seeds. So that's one of the earliest treatments for these diseases, in preventing these diseases that we have mentioned. You can also use biocontrol agents in managing these foliar diseases. The foliar diseases, um, I believe, I'm not speaking above your head. Foliar diseases are those that affect the leaves, and stem diseases are those that affect the stem. The root diseases are those beneath the soil surface. The fruit diseases, they affect the fruit. So, in managing the foliar diseases, you can also use biocontrol agents. And if you recall, for time's sake, I am not going back to it. And that's why I've said, let's go back to the recordings and listen over and over, or get the summary on our dashboard when Mr. Saka treated all this on the biocontrol agents. You can use Trichoderma azanium at 10 grams per liter of water in treating powdery mildew, leaf spots. You can use Trichoderma azanium. It's an arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, and it's very effective in tackling all these diseases. You can also use Pseudomonas fluorescens. You can use 10 grams per liter of water. Bacillus subtilis also at 2 grams per liter of water. So these are biocontrol agents that you can use, and all these three biocontrol agents I've mentioned, you can use them at an interval of 10 days. Remember, we said when we are doing organic tomato production, you are more into preventive than curative. You don't want to wait until you start seeing symptoms before you start application. In conventional farming, once you see the symptoms, you apply. In organic production, you are preventing. So you follow the protocol right from onset up till harvesting. And that's what we are doing right here. I also want to quickly
Excuse
backtrack.
me, please.
Yes,
I
ma'am. Go
believe
ahead.
that all those things that you have called out now, the
Yes, ma'am.
biocontrol, we will have
Biocontrol
access
agent.
to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I remember I was talking about this. For those who have more of clay, my advice would be ensure you raise the bed higher than you would raise it. If you recall, we said you should raise to a height of about 20 cm. And I said, if you remember the ruler, that yellow ruler of those days, just about half of it, that's about 20 cm. So if your soil in your environment is more of clay, you will need to raise it to twice the height. If you have more clay content in your soil, the reason is you need to have good drainage. We cannot overemphasize drainage in your nursery bed. And if you are using also a potted plant, it would be best to use a compost mix if you have more of clay content in your soil. Another thing, the water requirement for tomato, I'm on irrigation now. Tomato is very, very sensitive. I mentioned it earlier, but I'm mentioning it again. Immediately after harvesting, tomato is most sensitive. That's its most sensitive time to water deficit or excess water. So at times, some people will say after transplanting, it's like the plant is not growing as it should. The reason is because there's either water deficit or excess water. So during immediately after transplanting, you want to watch it. After transplanting, the next 3 weeks is still okay. By the time it starts flowering, it is also very, very sensitive. And by the time it starts fruiting, it is also very, very sensitive. So, like I said, drip irrigation is most effective, or a timed furrow irrigation is most effective for your tomato production. Weeding, if it's not a large field, if we take for the 100 seeds that is being sent in the starter pack, for example, hand weeding is best. And the reason is this: it loosens the soil, it does not make it cake. So hand weeding is best done. Now, if you are on a field, after your first weeding, which is usually after your transplanting, when you're doing your second weeding, please endeavor you instruct or inform those who are weeding for you to ensure the soil surface around the plant, they turn it. So what I mean is, when they are weeding, they should not just weed, they should turn up the soil. What this does is it kills the weed seeds and reduces the rate of regrowth of the weeds. Another thing you can use also to control your weed is mulching. And that was what we were saying yesterday about the neem leaves and moringa leaves and lemongrass leaves, whatever it is you're using also for your in-house biopesticide, based on the material you have, you can use these dry leaves to mulch the immediate surroundings of your plant. So I tell people, take your somebody should help me. What do you call the finger that follows the thumb? Is that the index finger?
Yes.
That's the index finger. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
okay. All right. So I say take your index finger to the root, to where the plant um connects with the soil, and then round it, just put it much, just round like that. So it doesn't have to be something wide like that. It's just the base of the plant where it attaches to the soil. Just take your index finger, all that, and then you do a circumference around it. So does that circle, mulch it there. It's very, very effective for your plant. Um, that's that much about weeding. Now we talk about pruning. Pruning, though mostly done for indeterminate varieties, but it's also possible for determinate varieties. Now, what is pruning? Pruning is basically the selective removal of side shoots. And what it does is it limits plant growth. So it can cause fruits to mature earlier, grow to bigger sizes, and causes uniformity. So one of the advantages, or let me say advantages of pruning, it causes the fruits to mature earlier. It causes it to grow to a bigger size because in the physiology, once you remove those side shoots, you're telling the plant, mobilize all the resources, all the photosynthesis you're doing, just mobilize it. Don't form leaves again. Don't form any other branch again. Just mobilize them to fruit. Mobilize them to fruit. Soldiers, move, move, go and form fruits. That's what happens during pruning. That's the message that is being sent to the plant. So another thing it does is it improves air circulation within the plant canopy. And if you recall, when I was talking about spacing, I said 50 by 50 is a good spacing for any planting, but I've seen people use 30 by 30. But the danger in that, I mean 30 cm by 30 cm, the danger in this reduced spacing is that there is an increase of foliar disease. So when you prune, so for those who have a large hectareage or they want to maximize the space they have, and so instead of using 50 by 60, 50 by 50 cm, they want to use 30 by 30 cm or 30 by 40 cm. If you engage in pruning, it will reduce the risk and your exposure to foliar diseases, and it will facilitate easier spraying and harvesting. If you recall, I mentioned that when you use a reduced spacing, while you will have more number of fruits, you are at the risk of having more unmarketable fruits. When harvesting tomatoes, by the time is what some will call esha, they are unmarketable. The market price is reduced drastically. So what you should get premium for, you have to lose certain amount for. And all these things has to be factored in. So it improves air circulation within your canopy. It facilitates easier spraying among while you're doing your spraying, whether it's the foliar fertilizer or it is the biopesticide you're applying. Now let me add this. The degree to which you prune is dependent on the season. Is dependent on the season. So you don't prune all your leaves out and then you just leave just one branch alone. You're causing danger for your tomato plant. So for indeterminate varieties, all through the season you can prune, but for determinate varieties, you only prune at the end. At the end, when you want to encourage ripening. Remember, we said determinate varieties are those that after a certain stage, they stop fruiting. So they don't set, they set all their fruits at once. So if you prune early when the flowers are just forming, what you're telling the plant is, once you get these fruits, just stop. That's the end. So it depends on the variety and it depends on the season. So we must know that. Pruning also involves removing dead leaves, damaged leaves, or any foliage that is shading the fruit from air or sunlight. I still did that. Okay, yesterday was Friday. I still did that on some tomato that were growing. Once you notice some leaves are changing color, I just pinch it on my thumb. I have left my nail there, or you can have a scissors or a blade. So I just pinch it off. I take off that leaf and ensure I do not kill the plant in the process of removing that dead leaf or damaged leaf or any part of the foliage um, that is affecting it. So I hope we got that point. Another thing I must say on this pruning is don't prune when rain is falling. Wet leaves spread diseases. So if you want to prune, ensure it's not also after when you have just watered your plants. Ensure it's not just when you have just watered your plants. Wet leaves spread diseases. And remember, I said humans can also be disease transfer agents. Premiership has started again. So let's not be transfer agents that will transfer diseases from one field to another. If you have visited a field and you are going to another field, I would suggest you either put on another clothing or you disinfect yourself if there is facility for that wherever it is you're going to or you're coming from. Also, do not over prune when pruning. Do not over prune because when you remove too many leaves, you can cause sunburn on the fruit. It's not only humans that have sunburn. Plants also they are affected by sunburn. So while on one hand, a fruit may block a leaf may block the fruit from getting adequate sunlight and air. At the same time, pruning too many leaves away will expose the fruit to sunburn, and there is transplanting shock. This is also a sunburn shock which can affect the plant. So I believe we have noted that. I move on to staking. Why do we stake? We stake because we want to avoid lodging. We want to avoid the stem breaking. You want to keep your plants erect. You want to have easy harvest process. You want to increase your fruit yield. You want to ensure you can apply your biopesticide, your biofertilizer easier on your plants. You want to reduce fruit rot. All these things are what staking does. And particularly during the rainy season, you should stake your plants. So all these are the things that really matter when we are talking about staking. It will prevent the tomato stem from snapping. There are times the wind will just get very strong. And at times you will see some trees will fall. At times you will see it will bend. If your tomato plant is not staked, then there is every possibility you might lose that. So it provides good support system, and it even reduces fruit and foliar diseases. That's that about staking. Do we have any question at this point in time? We're looking at cultural practices and we have looked at weeding, irrigation. We talked a little of nursery, um, weed management, pruning, staking. Now to harvesting. But I think I'd like to stop here for now, and I will take harvesting along with the economics of production when next we meet. I'd like to open the floor now for comments, questions, and announcements should we have. The floor is open. How far have we gone on our composting? How far have we gone in preparing our nursery in anticipation for receipt of our starter pack? So the floor is open.
Okay, hello, sir.
Good evenings once again, Sir Francis.
Is my question is on this mulching.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand you said you should mulch around the base of the plant,
Yes.
with the leaf of the leaves of the plant that we use for the pest control when it is dried. Now, my
Yes.
question is, on a raised bed,
Yes.
can we not use biodegradable mulch mats to spread on a living hole for where the plant comes out, and then use it's just an idea I'm conceiving in my mind. I just want to ask if I'm wrong. And then around the base of the plant where you have the hole, and you now cover that place with those waste leaves or dry whatever that you talk about.
Very usable. Very
Okay.
usable. I just gave that option. Um, we are talking about recycling. So why I particularly mentioned that of the neem and moringa was after using it's not just that you just want to discard it, it's still useful. You can use it. You can even use today I mowed um, the lawn. Those grasses you can pack them actually. Forget that they are with a good source of nitrogen. It's green material. So you can even put them in if you're doing sack farming, because it's easier to weed if you're doing sack farming. I repeat, if you're doing sack farming. So if you mow a lawn, those grass clippings, you can put them, use it to mulch. The biodegradable material also very quality that can be used to mulch. Leaf litters, you have almond leaf droppings in your area. You can use them also as your mulching materials. Cassava leaves, you can use. Almost all these stuffs are very good. Even you have newspaper from 1999, 2000, shred those newspapers, shred them. Very good compost materials. So we have a wide array of substances we can use as our mulch. So, sir, It's very usable.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. So any questions more?
Excuse me, I want to get some clarification
Please do.
concerning sterilization of our soil. If we don't
Okay.
have so much space, can we be pouring the boiling water into the sack with the soil that we have already prepared, so that we sterilize it there and dry it there before we now mix all the other things with it?
Yes, it's possible then.
Thank you. I've been wondering how to do that.
It's possible.
That's a very good question. Thank you, madam.
It's possible. So, like you said, please let's all ensure our details in terms of addresses so that we can be reached out to, and correct phone numbers. I also put let's just confirm that we have the right phone numbers there so that starting Monday we can start receiving our starter pack. Any further questions? Madam Esther, do you have any announcement for us?
Hmm. That was just the major announcement that everyone should ensure their details in terms of the address and phone numbers are accurate. Um, that's about it. By the grace of God, from Monday, we will start to send them out and call. And then part of the reason why the issue of the coordinators coming on board now, it's urgent, is that for some of these locations where we have a good number of members, it's the perfect timing to have coordinators in those areas so that they can be the pickup points, and then so that the group cooperation can also start as well. So we'll be reaching out to quite a number of people one on one in regards to that. So, but the most important thing is for all of us to have our details accurately set out in the in the appropriate portion on the dashboard. So, if there are no other questions or comments,
Well, good
I think
evening, ma. Good evening,
Good
everybody.
evening,
Yeah, actually, I was just going to suggest that we look for somebody who will be the main recipient in most places so that others will pick. For instance, in a state, if we have somebody that will be the main recipient there, other people in that axis can easily pick up from that person so that it will save us a lot of stress of how to send to the different locations.
yes,
okay.
That's my
Okay.
suggestion.
yes,
Thank you.
it's a good one. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Man, I love this cooperation. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. This is good, and we're getting there. I must say thank you to everyone. Wow. Just like yesterday, we started small and we are growing and we'll keep growing and developing. Please feel free again to go through summary of all that we have done. Should you have any question, feel free to reach out, feel free to drop a message. We will respond. In the absence of any other question,
Excuse me, please.
yes,
Excuse me,
ma'am.
please. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
want to clarify, how do you identify cow manure that is killed?
It's about timing. It's about timing.
Okay.
It's about timing, because if it's fresh, you will see it is fresh. Then uh, I don't know. For me, also there's a kind of smell that exudes from it. I don't know. Some things I think come by experience. I
Okay.
think that's the best way I can put it. But usually, wherever it is you're getting it from, they would have packed some down, or
Okay.
if you pack some yourself and then you just leave it for a while.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Another way is the fact that it's usually dry,
Uh-huh.
not as soft Or in fact, when you see it, even if you see it on the floor, you see that it's somehow hardened, not like the one that has just been discharged. There's a kind of
Okay.
hardness and things like
Um,
that you notice in it.
Okay. Thank you, ma.
thank you so very much.
Yeah, good evening.
Good
Um,
evening,
I
sir.
my
Okay.
question is based on this cow manure that we have talked about. I've heard
Yes.
from several farmers that itself it's used to nurse um
Weed.
weeds
Weed.
seedlings. So I don't know because I know I've discussed with two three farmers about using it, and all they tell me is it's naturally not wheat seeds. That's why they are not using it. So if there's
Well,
any
they are losing out actually. Of course, because what do cows eat? It's grasses they eat. So um but when you look at it, this question you have asked has generated a whole lot during conferences and all that. Now, when you weigh the pros versus the cons, it is far more valuable as an organic fertilizer and as a soil amendment because it's very rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and one of the reasons why we're talking about allowing it also to cure is by the time it's fresh, because of all the microbes that follow the discharge, and if you use it directly, it will negatively affect your plants. But when you allow it to cure, all those antagonistic microbes would have gone, and what will be left will be beneficial microbes that will enhance your soil health. In fact, cow dung has been found to improve soil structure, water retention, and even airflow within the soil if you incorporate it as your with your soil for production. So yes, it has those weed seeds, but that's why it's not just the lone material you're using. I believe you get me now. So it's if it's only cow dung, that's the only material you're using as your manure, then of course you will have that issue. But if you're using it in conjunction with other materials, then you have little or nothing to worry about.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Saeed.
Yeah, my question is I have access to poultry dons from layers,
Yes.
and yeah, and I want to add my kitchen waste to it.
Okay.
That'll be okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then another question is concerning the seed. Actually, I live in Ikorodu, but
Okay.
my office is at Pine Grove. I go to Pine Grove every Wednesday. So I'm thinking
Okay.
if I can change the address to that of the Pine Grove so that it will be easy. I'm just thinking, would that be okay?
We will let everyone know the pickup centers that we have determined by Monday or Tuesday latest. By Monday, anyway, everyone will know where the pickup centers are, so that you determine the one that is nearest to you.
Okay. Then concerning the coordinator, I think I'm interested. So I'll check on my dashboard to do the registration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Awesome.
yes. Join the group.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again for a very good training. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
I'm very keen on the nursery part, and
Okay, man.
since we are going to use smaller containers to start off uh, the sprouting and starting of the growth of the plant, I'm
Yes, man.
wondering what really would be the very best choice. Could I use rice husks with a manure, or should I use soil layered with manure, or what would be the best you would suggest for somebody who wants to do like 50 seedlings to start with?
Okay. From research, rice husk mixed with manure gives you a very good nursery growth. It does not now mean, that's why I'm choosing my words now. It does not mean all others are not good, but rice husk is very good. And if you mix it with manure and you use it as your nursery to raise it, and so what it will mean is, I don't know what other manure do you have there along with the rice husk. So if you use it in a ratio, maybe 3 to 1.
I have good compost.
Good compost I have. So rice husk, the compost, and then some little topsoil, just to ensure you have a good soil structure. I believe you're good to
I've
go.
actually got some sawdust today.
So but less of the sawdust, please.
Okay.
Yes. So more of the rice husk, the compost, little of the sawdust, and then some topsoil. I believe you're good to go.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Q.
Go ahead, man.
I also want to ask, I don't have a rice husk. What can we do cocoa pit?
Oh, sure.
Only cocoa pit or cocoa pit with something else?
I always prefer not to use a mono growing media. So if you have some compost, you can mix it also with the cocoa pit. But if you're using the nursery tray with the cells, you can just use cocoa pit alone, fill it into those cells. But if you're using in a bowl or the tray, the round tray, the Malawi tray, you can mix it with some compost. But if you have the nursery cell tray, the cocoa pit alone is okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. It's been a wonderful time of learning and relearning and unlearning as usual. I wish us all a wonderful remaining weekend and a glorious week ahead as we go into the full work that God has helped us to start. Do have yourself a good night. Say tomato.
Say abundance.
Abundant. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Good night. Good night. Thank you very much. God
To
bless
say
you.